This entire military is one cohesive, dedicated force. And the threats to our nations, they don't sleep. They're watching our every move. Iran, Russia, China, North Korea, ISIS, Al-Qaeda. They may be watching this right now. Our military should not be mistaken for a cable news gabfest show. We don't care what you look like. We don't care who you voted for, who you worship, what you worship, who you love. It doesn't matter if your dad left you millions when he died or if you knew who your father was. We have been honed into a machine of lethal moving parts that you would be wise to avoid if you know what's good for you. We will not be intimidated. We will not back down. We don't want war. But if you want war with the United States of America, there's one thing I can promise you, so help me God. Someone else will raise your sons and daughters.
Military Broadcast Radio, the station that's giving veterans a voice.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Welcome to the From Pain to Purpose radio show. I'm your host, Eva Fulton. In this show, we explore the incredible journeys of resilience, healing, and transformation. In each episode, we will sit down with individuals who have faced unimaginable struggles and turned their pain into power, heartbreak into hope, and their challenges into meaningful change and finding new purpose in life. Through candid conversations and inspiring stories, we will uncover how pain, whether emotional, physical, mental, or spiritual, can be the catalyst for profound growth and a deeper sense of purpose. So if you are looking for motivation, insight, and real stories of triumph over adversity, you're in the right place. Let's get started on this journey from pain to purpose. Let's give veterans a voice through Military Broadcast Talk. Hey, welcome everybody. Happy Saturday. Today is Saturday, February 7th. The year of our Lord 2026. Welcome. Gosh, we're already in the second month of the year. Hey, hint, guys, if you have a girlfriend, just remember, ladies, don't get mad at me, but Valentine's Day is every day. If you are are special enough to have somebody, remember, that next Saturday is Valentine's Day. And, for people who don't know my story, that I don't have a significant other, right? I don't have a mister that I partner with life with. And both of my ex-husbands had passed away. And for those of you who do this journey on your own, feel free to reach out to somebody and, go, maybe it's just a friend date. It's okay. Go out, enjoy life, and don't sit at home twiddling your thumbs, right? Accountability side of things, I submitted chapter 3 to my chair, so I'm pretty excited. And I also sent in chapters 1, 2, 3 all together for my dissertation. So exciting news on that. I feel this momentum. It feels really good. And when you've got guests like I have coming up, man, I'm nowhere. I can't touch how much he's published. There's no competition. And when I want to grow up, I want to be like George. So without further ado, let me go ahead and introduce George. I got to pull up my notes. So George is a Marine, once a Marine, always a Marine. I know the deal, guys. I was Army, but I'll grant you guys, you're always the Marine. But he was a grunt in the infantry and a forest forest recon company. He was a scout dog handler and spent 13 months in Vietnam. Let's see. I know he's got at least 13 published books. We'll see if he can touch on all of those. He's got 2 PhDs or doctorates. I'm not sure which one. And he's going to law school. So Vietnam veteran, and I'm just is so excited. He's definitely worked on the pain to purpose side of things in life, but that's not all that he's done. He is the president and founder of the International Sharon Ryu Karate Kabuto Federation. He's the Grand Master George Alexander. So excited. He's the interview of the week.
The interview of the week is brought to you by Jersey Mike's, a sub above.
Hey, George.
Hey, how are you?
I should have added in there the intro that we've actually been scuba diving together with
true.
Deep Sea Valkyries in 2018.
Yeah.
You Mr. Master Diver, and that was my first dive trip ever. And you probably, I just know, y'all probably got so tired of me because I was this newbie on the boat. And, do you remember I was ready to go full G.I. Jane on that trip? I was ready to shave all of my hair off because I kept getting all these little fuzzies and I had so much water leaking in my mask.
Oh, no.
I was ready to shave it off.
That's a problem. Well, that's one way to deal with that.
I was, yep. Ask Drew. I tell him. Yeah, you could ask him. I was ready to. Was so
that was a good trip, though. That was a good trip, and it was all veterans, which was kind of nice for us, and a great crew. That's for sure.
It was definitely. The food was amazing.
Well, I couldn't get over that. It was a small boat, 65-foot sailboat, cramped, right? And a young gal, she was like 23 or 4 or something. She cooked up some of the best meals ever, and I'm like, how is this even possible?
They were 5-star meals.
It was amazing.
Absolutely. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner was.
Yeah.
She even has charcuterie boards out there for us.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Anyway. Okay.
So we have a lot to cover. You were so excited that you agreed to come on the show. You've had some health challenges. Of course, I've had health challenges too, but I was just so excited that you had come on.
Well, thank you. And so the health challenges, they fixed me, so I'm good.
Yay.
So I, my plan for this year, New Year, like you mentioned something about the New Year, I'm going to stay in Honduras for a while and do some diving there. That's some incredible diving. I've been there a couple times before. Gonna do that. And I don't know if you mentioned this or not, but I am a scuba instructor. So Silent Ocean Scuba is our outfit that we teach from. And, gonna do that.
I have the website I'm going to share for folks too.
Okay.
So how was the weather?
Oh, it was. You mean in Honduras or here?
No, for it's too cold right now to go scuba diving.
Yeah,
right?
It's a bit chilly.
Unless you've got like an 8 mil skin or something.
Well, I do have a heated pool. We can go there.
Okay.
So I'm in Florida, in case people don't know. I'm in Palm Coast, Florida, which is North Florida, just south of Jacksonville and just north of Daytona. And we had an unusual cold spell here for about a week. Very, very unusual. But now it's in the 60s. It's going to be 70s next week, and then it'll be back to 80 again. And so we'll be
jealous.
Good. Yeah,
we woke up. Good. It was like 9 degrees this morning in Maryland.
Whoa.
Yeah. With a feels like -2, I think is what it.
Oh man. Woo.
Yeah.
I can't handle that. I lived upstate New York for a while, and so I know what the brutal winters can be like. So enough of that. Anyway, especially if you're a scuba diver. So anyway, what I can do is I can go over some of these publications maybe, and we'll talk about them. And then we have some other bullet points that we had discussed previously about.
We did. How your journey after Vietnam, if you kind of had capped in a way, the things that have helped you navigate. I'm just using the bullet points that we were talking about, that they have helped you navigate life in a way.
Yeah. Well, Here's the thing. So my personal story is, I did 4 years in the Marine Corps, 4 glorious years. And the first 3 years were training, and I traveled all over the world and got to do that. It was wonderful. And you're a young guy and you're gung ho and all that sort of stuff. And then I did the last 13 months in Vietnam, which is that's a bit of an eye opener if you're in combat and all that kind of stuff. So and so the challenge is that when you come back from that, and I know a lot of guys that have come back from Iraq and Afghanistan, they face similar, if not the same, challenges. And so the civilian world is all of a sudden a lot different than what you are used to. Okay. And so you have to try to integrate or fit back into civilian life. That can be hard to do. My DD 214 said, and if you don't know what that is, that's a kind of a document that lists what your accomplishments were in your time in service. And it's one of the spaces there says equivalent civilian occupation, small arms technician. And I'm like, oh, that's great. How am I gonna get a job with that?
Right.
And so that's the thing. You're trying to integrate back in society, and you try to figure out where do you fit in. That's difficult for veterans. It really is.
Right.
And so you have to make some decisions. Do I go to college? Do I find a trade? Or I know I have to get a job so I can have income, so I can make a living, and all those kind of things. And so that's a struggle. And of course, and I'm not sure this is vastly different with the veterans that were not Vietnam veterans, but other veterans. Vietnam was kind of unique, I suppose, in that we had a real stigma with us. When we came back from Vietnam, it was, oh, you guys are drug addicts and baby killers and psycho drug addicts and all that. We had to fight that stigma. So that was a real problem.
I think the media has tried to stigmatize the Iraqi and Afghanistan veterans as well. I don't
Really?
know why. I mean, I think that's my perception. I think that
Really?
they have tried to stigmatize them, and because of there's the waterboarding stuff that had happened, and a lot of those kinds of things. Then the assumption is that that a lot of innocent people have been killed or tortured.
Yeah, okay.
And so I think that they have tried to stigmatize
Well, you know what?
them.
They had that Abu Ghraib incident. Now that you're
Exactly.
yeah, that didn't play well. Yeah, that wasn't good. Okay. So, so as veterans coming back, especially combat veterans coming back, there's some stigma there, and it's tough to fit back into society. And so you got to figure out how to overcome that. One of the problems there is you don't seem to have a lot of direction. So what I'm thinking, I've developed a little formula here, which is what we were talking about. And first thing is, I think you should find a mentor. Find somebody that you can look up to, or somebody that's accomplished, or somebody that you want to be like. And it's not Batman, okay? Sorry, I'm sorry, I had to throw that in there. Anyway,
It's okay. We have fun.
Yeah. Find a mentor. Find somebody, and that it could be a parent, or maybe not. It's somebody else. And you're like, wow, that is.
It could be a neighbor. It could be somebody you met at a veteran service organization. An event.
There you go.
Yeah.
So find a mentor, okay, and then the other thing is a support system, because as we were talking before the show a little earlier about somebody who didn't really was somewhat isolated, and a lot of veterans become isolated or whatever.
Yeah.
So find a support system, and that could be family, it could be friends, or it could be the VA. You can go to the VA, and they have different groups that people can participate in, etc. And then there's veterans organizations. There's the VFW and the American Legion. I was going to make Yeah. Anyway, so
And
anyways,
bets, you get
yeah.
DAV, the list goes on. And there's a lot of women veteran groups too. Women
Mhm.
Veterans Interactive, Women Veterans of America, the list goes on.
Right. So yeah, that's a way to do that. And I didn't have any of that. I had to kind of figure it out on my own, which
I did
was
too.
which was difficult. That was difficult. Um, so yeah, you're just stumbling through the darkness, really. That. Excuse me. That's not good. So there are other things available to you to do that. So I hopefully if some that falls on somebody's ears that is listening and needs some help or direction or guidance or whatever, there is a way to do that. There is a way to get that. And then the third thing I've got is goals. Establish some goals, and these are just this doesn't you don't have to necessarily be a veteran to appreciate this, but
Right.
just some life goals. Kind of establish some goals. One thing is perhaps vocational goals. What do I want to be? What do I want to do? And that's a hard question for people. It's like, I don't know what I want to be.
Yeah.
Hell, I'm I'm not even going to say how old I am, and I'm not sure who the hell I want to be yet. Okay, that's obvious, right? So, uh,
It's
so
not obvious. I think you've enjoyed experimenting.
listen, I'm not saying I didn't have fun.
Yeah, no, that's one
Okay,
of the things I think that I love about you is that your brain is still working and that's,
yeah,
that's exciting. That
yeah,
is
seems to
exciting.
be. So one of the things, a personal life lesson on this is that, vocationally, yeah, you may find yourself in a job that you really don't like or this or that, and you're like, oh my God, I just have to get up every morning and do this job again. That's kind of misery, especially for
Yeah.
veterans. That is misery. So what I think the advice there is to back up and see what your passion is. Your passion, if you can do it, not everybody can do this, right? If you can find a passion that also becomes your vocation, and what's the expression? You'll never work a day in your life, that type of
Right.
thing. So yeah, if you can do that, you're going to be a lot happier. That's for sure. Yeah, and it
Makes
doesn't
perfect
have to be.
sense.
Yeah, my thing was academics, but also martial arts. So I spent my whole life in martial arts since I was 12 years old. I was fortunate enough to have a dad who had been in the Army Air Corps in World War II. I know it's hard to believe I'm that old, but anyway, he was an officer in the Army Air Corps in World War II, and he learned something what they called back then combat judo. They didn't really have karate in the United States at that time, or jujitsu or anything else, right? So he had combat judo, which was a sort of a self-defense, military hand-to-hand combat situation. So that's what I started with when I was about 12, 10 or 12, something like that. And and then I just had a passion for that. I saw that and said, how cool is that? I can wear white pajamas and jump around and do that stuff. That is really, holy cow. That floats my boat. I gotta do that. Okay. And then, I just kind of stayed with that, ever since. Went to Japan a number of times and all that kind of stuff. So anyway,
Is that kept
that's
you
that.
pardon to interrupt you, but is that kept you physically active that maybe where you might not have otherwise?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So some from the military experience, the stuff I was involved in, it was a lot of PT, a lot of physical exercise, running up and down mountains with a pack on your back and a rifle in your hand and all that stuff. And so once I got out of the military, the martial arts was really a continuation of that for me.
Yeah.
Still a lot of physical training. So anyway,
And
it
your
looks.
video has frozen, by the
Yeah,
way.
yeah, yeah. I see
Okay.
that. So
Okay.
I'll just I'll just
I
keep
can still hear
talking. We'll
you
see.
fine. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll keep going. I don't know why it's doing that. I don't know.
That's all
Whatever.
right.
Welcome to the internet. Anyway, so Yeah, so following the passion, and so that was a passion. The martial arts was a passion. So I've done pretty much everything I wanted to do in that.
Did
Competition wise, learning wise, etc.
did did the because of your experience in Vietnam,
Mhm.
did any PTS that you had, did the competition and being dedicated to that sport, did that help you?
Oh, um, yeah. I mean, I think I perhaps had a different mindset than other people that may have been just sheer sportsmen. Let's say.
Okay.
I'll give you an example. Um, I spent 40 years doing kendo. Kendo is Japanese swordsmanship, and so
Okay.
you wear armor, and you use a bamboo sword, and
Okay.
it is a full contact situation. And the thing I like about it is you can literally bash another man in the head as hard as you can, and it's perfectly all right. It's
I
acceptable.
There was a movie I think I saw on Netflix or Amazon
Mhm.
Prime where the guy, I think this was Vietnam era. No, it's uh forget his name. Actor, famous actor. Anyways, he was an American. I guess this was like in the 1800s. So, do you know which one I'm talking about? I'll have to figure it out.
Absolutely not. so so anyway, um,
I'll
I think I
Google it
know.
while you talk.
I think I know what you're talking about. But you're talking about maybe Shogun, something like that.
It might have
Anyway,
been, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So one thing that that affected me, I guess, was in competing in kendo. Um, I considered it a life and death struggle. This not isn't just, oh shucks, I lost, or oh shucks, he scored a point on me or something like that. No, my mentality was, if I lose, I'm dead. So it's kind of scary, right? A little bit of scary. This is not normal. Okay, I know that, but it served me well. I can tell you that.
Oh, because even though it was pretend, you mentally understood that if you lost, if it had been for real,
I'd
like it
be dead.
replaced it, you would be dead.
Yeah,
So you play acted it, but as if it was real.
exactly. Yeah.
Got it. Got it.
And so that helped me a lot. So anyway,
That makes sense.
that's just kind of a personal thing. But so anyway, so yeah, I pursued the martial arts and did a lot of did all kinds of competitions and things like that, and still doing it to this day. And so that's good. And then another way to channel, so to speak, some of this stuff is I wrote a book on my Vietnam experiences, and there are like 1,000 books on this, right?
Mhm.
There are a lot of books. I just clicked me trying to get my face back, but it's not working too good. Oh well. Anyway, so so
It's all
one
right.
book that
I'm gonna share the screen of well, since we don't have you on, I'm
Mhm.
gonna share the screen of some of your list of books.
Okay, all right, all right.
So go
So
ahead, keep talking.
yes, okay. So the first one I wanted to talk about was, I wrote a book about the Vietnam experience, my personal experience, and like I said, there's 1,000 books on this. But this stuff is kind of a catharsis, right? Is kind of what it is. So by doing this writing, you're kind of getting it out. It's therapy for you.
Yeah.
It's therapy. So this one, I don't see it yet. Anyway, so this one is the Nam, the One Marine's Journey During the Vietnam War. That's what this book is about. And so you found all the martial arts books. I don't see the other one, but anyway. Um, so
Here
uh,
we go. This one has a lot of your
yeah, that's
books.
martial arts stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
The other one's got like a green cover. I don't know why we don't see that. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, that talks about as a young kid. I had the same passion that I had for martial arts. Being kind of a wild kid at 17, I was like, whoa, I got to get out of here. I got to see the world. I got to, spread the oats or something or other. And so, so that was it. That was the Marine Corps. I saw that. I said, well, will that make me tough? And they said, oh yeah. I said, okay, that's for me. That's what I want to do. And so, anyway, so that's how the journey began, right? And then, so the book is about that story and culminates certainly in Vietnam. And let me just go over a little bit of it. It talks about the typical boot camp experience and all that. And like I said, there's 1,000 books with this, nothing really unique. And then it talks mostly.
I don't know. I'm gonna take that back for you, George, because I think just because there are other people that have written something doesn't mean that they had the same perspective that you did on it.
Well, okay.
You know what I
agree.
mean? I mean, because
Sure.
somebody else may identify with how you thought through whatever the moves were or whatever that I want to say the emotional or that spiritual side that you heard it at, that it's, that context might speak to somebody because that's how you felt going through it.
Okay. All right. I see that. So,
Yeah.
so the book talks about the Vietnam experience type thing and talks about certain things that I did, which is like I ran patrols along the DMZ because the NVA were infiltrating to get into South Vietnam. So the company kept 3 patrols in the field at all times. And that was to detect enemy forces coming down is kind of what that is. One of the things during the course of that, and there's a couple of things I'll mention. So one of them was we had to do a hydrographic survey of what's called the Gio Linh River. That river was on the east side and flowed from North Vietnam into South Vietnam. And so they had intelligence from aircraft overflights and aerial photographs. And so they wanted to know, how deep is that river? Can the NVA, can they sail barges down there with supplies and rockets? Because we were getting rocketed all the time. And anyway, so we got on a helicopter and we got inserted with our dive gear. We got to the river and the river was about 2 inches deep.
Oh, really? That's it?
That's
2 inches with the dive gear.
So that's my one combat dive. It's 2 inches deep. Okay. So that was okay. So that was good.
That's so humorous.
And then there was a forward base there called Con Tien. And that was basically the North Vietnamese on one side of the DMZ and us on the other. And it was an artillery duel. And we had a joke, hey, you can get 3 Purple Hearts in one day here. That was, and of course, if you got 3 Purple Hearts, you could go home. You're not allowed to get any more than that. So that was kind of a joke. That was a little younger picture there. Okay.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So their whippersnapper there.
Yeah. So that was an artillery duel. That was a scary place. You wanted to get the hell out of there as fast as you could, which we did. We would leave there at 0 dark 30 to get out of there so they couldn't see us walk out. And then we would get into the jungle and do our patrol and all that kind of stuff. And then we would, engage. And so the whole thinking about the force recon, what force recon means is reconnaissance for the landing force. It's supposedly reconnaissance up to 100 miles in front of friendly enemy lines or whatever, whatever the battlefield is.
This is some of your other books, isn't it? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think so.
These are your nerdy books.
Yeah. So anyway, so that was the mission. So the mission is to be able to detect enemy forces, but not engage them, because what was called the table of organization, which meant that you just had, we usually, there was 4-man teams originally. And then, so then you would go out with 4-man team. Well, the problem with 4-man teams is that you can't put out enough firepower if you get surrounded to fight your way out. You're going to get overrun. You're going to get killed. So then they started putting 2 teams together, and they made 8-man teams with 1 Navy corpsman. And so that's how that kind of went down. And then so what we would do is we would actually engage much larger enemy forces, all the way from a platoon size up to like a company size with only 8 people. And so, and the way that would happen is we would call in artillery on them, or not naval. You could call in naval gunfire, but that was rare. Mostly artillery and fixed wing, which would be napalm and 250-pound bombs. Well, this would irritate the hell out of them, and they'd start to figure out where we were after about a day or two, and they come after us. And usually by day 5, we would be surrounded and have to fight our way out. So, so it's not a very good scenario. But that was a way that the U.S. detected larger enemy forces coming through the DMZ, engaging them, and then wiping them out. And so that was the job. So that was highly dangerous. So that was the total mission. But that was, my point is, that wasn't the original mission. The original mission is stealth. They never knew you were there, and you spied on them, and you got the intelligence information back to headquarters or higher up, or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
And so, and we even had an acronym for that: SALUTE: size, activity, location, unit, time, and equipment. So we
I
had to
remember
report
that.
all. Oh, you remember that one? Okay.
I do remember that.
Okay. So
We did
that
in
was
the
the
Army.
original. That was that was the original mission, but then that changed quickly. Why? Because I used to joke. I said, a private can call in $1 million worth of ordnance.
Yeah.
So between fixed wing with napalm, 250-pound bombs, and then naval gunfire even, or we had 105s, 155s, and the Marine Corps doesn't have a bigger artillery piece than that, but the Army does. 175, a huge artillery piece, and they fired for us for at least one patrol. But you have to be careful with that, because you can't get that thing in too close to you. Otherwise, you are part of you're part of the stuff flying through the air. So anyway,
Right.
so that was a thing. And then I don't know. I did some other patrols, which may be of interest to people that want to read the book. And I did spend a little bit of time with the Korean Marines. That's a real experience. Holy cow. Those guys are brutal. Okay. And then I finished the book with thoughts on war. And this is basically a political commentary on how we got into the war, what was the purpose behind it, and a kind of a deeper understanding of what that war was about, that lasted for 20 years, cost 58,280, perhaps 85 by now, keeps going up a little at a time.
Right.
It's 58, but basically 58,000 lives. And to what end? The communists wound up taking over Vietnam anyway. But and then there's a lot more to the whole evolution of the politics involved, and what happened with that country after the fact. It's actually kind of interesting, because it's sort of what was a lot of that when we were over there as young military guys, we had no clue. Semper Fi, do or die. Just do your duty, and this is it. We're out there. Hey, we're supposed to go kill those people. Okay, let's go. And
Right.
so that's it. But so the idea of the bigger picture and the politics involved and what was going on, we actually really had no clue. Okay. And so, but what it was about was the containment of communism. The communists, they tried this in the Korean War. The North Korea invaded South Korea. That was the Korean War. And so, the history of this is that
They were trying to wash, rinse, repeat practice.
Well, the idea is, after World War II, there were 3 or 4 schisms. In other words, we had defeated the Axis powers, which was Germany and Japan, and sad to say, Italy. But anyway, they gave up rather quickly. So anyway,
not many fighters there.
No, more like lovers and chefs and
Yep.
pizza. But anyway, but as a result, we were like, okay, well, what do the Allies and then the Russians said, well, we've got them where we want them. What do we do now? They're defeated. What do we do? Well, the Chinese and the Russians said, well, we want a communist regime. And then the rest of us, the Allies, we said, no, we want a democratic regime. And I said, okay, tell you what, compromise. We'll split these countries in half. It'll be North Korea, which will be communist, and South Korea, which will be democratic. Okay. And then Hong Kong was kind of the same way. And then Germany, East and West Germany. We split those countries, all of those, in half. And then we had the Korean War, and North Korea says, I think we want to take over the South. That's what that was about. Then 10 years later or less, the North Vietnamese said, you know what, we'll do the same thing. We're going to take over the South. So that division, that artificial division thing, kind of didn't work, and it led us into 2 wars. Didn't work. So that was the real purpose. And the idea was with the Vietnam War is that, it's a domino effect. That was the terminology. It's a domino effect. And if one country falls in Southeast Asia, so will the rest of them. Cambodia, Laos, and maybe even Thailand.
And isn't Malaysia still kind of out there in play too, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's what the war was really about. So it was to stop the spread of communism. That's what it was about. Now, you could look at, and this is at the tail end of the book, you could look at it another way and say, well, did it work? Yes and no. It kind of worked for the long term, but the short term, no. Laos fell to communism, the Pathet Lao. And of course, Vietnam fell. April 15th, 1975. That was the end of the war. We were out of there. And the communists took over, and it was brutal, So, but now what's happened is those countries, or at least Vietnam, their economic system, not necessarily political, but economic system, has come around to the way of capitalism as opposed to communism. So it's like, what? And I know.
But China's taking over Hong Kong, though, right? Aren't they?
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, I saw that they are normalizing all of the Hong Kong laws to the rest of the way of China because they just can't keep them separate anymore.
That's it. You got that right. So yeah. So that's why there were a lot of protests in Hong Kong. So I think it was 1997. The British turned Hong Kong back over to China. Was what happened. And of course, everybody was in a panic and like, oh no, we're going to be communists. Wait a minute. This is a financial center in Asia. Right. Holy cow. What's going to happen? Everybody was afraid for their jobs, their lives, and all that kind of stuff. So there were some protests and things, and I don't know where that's fell down or where that's arrived at this point. Don't know. But anyway,
or how much of is it paid? George, what if, somebody's paying them to protest just like they've been protesting in different places in America? What if it's just they're paid protests?
Wow. I wish I knew where I could get paid because I would protest.
Yeah, I don't think you would.
I need a job, man.
I don't know. I was going to say, I think they go to Craigslist, but.
Yeah. God, that's something else. Anyway, so no, I don't think there's paid protesters. Who would pay them and what the hell for? There was some gal on the internet and said, hey, paid protest. I'm a protester. Let me know where I can get paid. I want to sign up for that. So yeah, that's a
what a job.
This is more contemporary political stuff in this country now, which is a
Yeah.
whole nother can of worms. Holy
Yep.
cow!
Yep.
But anyway, so that's the gist of this book, and I'm so sorry you my screen died.
Yeah.
I can't seem to
Sorry,
fix.
folks.
Oh
We
well.
don't. We had this happen before the show, and he came back on,
Wait a
and
minute.
the video was working.
Wait a minute. Here's a button. Let me push it.
Oh, there it is! Yay!
Am I back? I can't
You
see
are.
me.
You're back,
Oh,
and you're live.
hello.
You're not
There
frozen.
we go. Okay,
Yay!
good. That works. It's amazing.
All right. So, what
Okay.
book? Okay, show us
Boom.
again. What book? The Nam. That was the book called The Nam.
Yeah, the Nam, one Marine's journey during the Vietnam War. Boom. Okay, so that's all that. That is all that. So you know what made this different is that there are some unique experiences in here, and there are the political commentary that we just went through, and I think people would find it a little bit more interesting rather than the standard, what I call 1,000 different books on the Vietnam War. So anyway, so that's that. Let's do some other stuff.
Shout out to Jose. So Jose is one of our co-hosts. He follows this show. He was a sergeant major in the Army.
Right.
So he's thanking you for this information.
Okay, thank you,
Yeah.
Jose. Yeah. I think people would find this very interesting. I think they find that book really interesting. So yeah, it's on World Budokan, Amazon. You can find it. It's online. But you know, there may be a number of books called the Nam, but the subtitle is what makes it different.
And then it's written by George W. Alexander.
That's the guy. Yep. So anyway, we could talk about a couple of other things quickly.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about goals first. Support system is one thing. We're going to get back to that, but goals is another one for people to establish goals. And what I did in my quick little notes here is to break that down into financial goals and vocational goals. So what I'm advocating for people is to establish some financial health. I've written 3 books on this one. So one of them is personal money management, how to manage your own finances. And then another one is this book, Investing for Growth and Profit.
Okay.
Okay, so it's not that complicated. I'll break it down in a sentence or two. Watch this. First question, what's important? What's more important, time or money? The answer, time. Okay. So if you can invest and develop a little system of investing, and if anybody wants to know how to do this, contact me and it's easy. Start your own portfolio and you start investing. And then over time, if you're young enough, that's the key. If you're young enough, by the time you get 65, 70 years old, you can be financially independent. We'll use that terminology, right? And that's the goal. And you do it without the pain. So in other words, you let's say you get some money deducted from your paycheck every week, a certain amount, or every 2 weeks, whatever it is, and it goes into your portfolio automatically. You never miss it. You never miss it, and then that will build up over time, and you'll have somewhat of a portfolio to manage, right? And so anyway, so that's enough of that stuff. So I actually wrote 3 books on that. One was the Investing for Growth and Profit, and the other one is Planning for Retirement, which kind of has some of that stuff in it too.
I'm not too far away from that.
Yeah, there you go. So
couple of years.
So then, my other passion, in addition to the martial arts, and you scrolled all through those, I've written like 13 martial art books or something, but I'm a history buff. So you can see I'm curious. It's like, what?
Yeah.
I need to know the story behind this. Why do we do what we do? What is this all about? Who invented it? Where did it come from? All these curious George questions, right?
It's kind of like the 5 whys, and if we're not asking why enough, then we're repeating the same mistakes.
Yes. Yeah. And another book that I did, because I have the scuba diving passion, which I got into as a kid. Just to preface this quickly, my parents moved from New York to South Florida when I was 14 years old. So when I got there, I was like, oh my God, look at this. Of course, at that time, it was pristine, right?
Yeah.
Before everybody else moved. But anyway, it was pristine. And it was like, look at this tropical paradise. And I discovered scuba diving by the time I was 15, a year later. So I was already diving at 15 years old
Wow.
before I ever went in the military, right? So anyway, so I've always had a passion for that. And then I wrote this book as well. And you can see everything has got some military context to
The
it.
tactical scuba diver course.
Yes, yeah, that. So anyway, so those are some cool pictures, some cool guys, right?
Have you taught in the military as well? Did you have you taught active duty military or?
Yeah, I did. Not a lot, but some, because I was mostly, in the boonies doing the thing and on the missions and stuff like that. Mostly that.
Jose says you are a jack of all trades. That's stupendous. Yes, that's why I love George.
I'm like a serial killer. Stop me before I kill again. Yeah, I just
No,
can't
no,
stop.
no. He's not even through yet, Jose. Wait till you
Oh,
hear
man.
what he's been working on lately.
Oh boy. So anyway, so I wrote a lot of martial arts books, scuba diving. There's some other books too, like history books, and a lot of stuff on military and warfare. So I have another one. Let me grab this because I didn't have it in front of me here. Let me grab this book. Whoa. Okay.
Folks, I just love that George has kept his mind going, right? That you haven't stopped.
I haven't stopped, and I'm not watching the grass grow, and I don't plan.
Yeah,
I
right.
don't plan on it. Here's another one.
Japan's warrior nation.
Yeah. This is all about World War II and how the Japanese got into it.
Wow.
Okay. And so some of that schism we talked about where they divided Vietnam, or not Vietnam, but Korea in half and all that, some of that East and West Germany, that was kind of a result of that. That's covered in here. And there's some psychology in here. There was an Army lieutenant colonel named Dave Grossman, and he wrote two books. One was called On Killing, and the other one was called On Combat. There you go. And he breaks down the psychology of all that very well. And once you kind of know that, you can apply it to all these other conflicts and things and make more sense out of it on an overall strategic basis and an individual basis. People that wind up with PTSD and why and all this sort of thing, So that a lot of that stuff is in that book, but and I don't know. So it's deeper stuff on the Japanese mentality. And another one, this is like a crossroads. So here we go again. There's like 1,000 books on Sun Tzu, The Art of War, right? But this one is tailored for the business executive. That's what that is. So it's using Sun Tzu's concepts, know your enemy, know yourself, and in 100 battles, you'll always win, those kind of things. And so that's what's in this book. So anyway, so that's a few of those. But yeah, I've just kind of everything that interests me, I wound up writing a book about it.
But you have 2 doctorates also.
Yeah, embarrassing.
Right? 2.
Yeah.
No, it's not. So what are they in? What are your doctorates in?
Well, one of them, the first one's in political science. And then part of that was studying Asian history. And and so that kind of generated those 2 books. Sun Tzu, The Art of War for the Modern Executive. And in fact, Japan's Warrior Nation is my dissertation. That's what it is.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yeah. So one doctorate is in political science, and the other one is like I had a whole nother life. Is a financial. So the other one is business management. Okay?
So that's the one you were finishing up when we were scuba diving. I think you were.
Yeah.
You
Yes,
were
that's right.
working on it then. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I got that done. And the dissertation on that one, which I haven't turned into a book yet, imagine that. That one is on leadership, transformational leadership, actually.
Okay.
That's what that book is about, or that's what the dissertation, which one of these days I'll make a book out of that. So, basically I've turned my life experience, I've recorded my life experiences is kind of what's happened there. And for me, that's that's therapy. That's a catharsis, to kind of get it out there. And
I totally get it.
That helps.
I've got 2 MBAs and I'm working on my PhD. So
Okay, yeah.
I got you, right?
Yeah. All right. Got it. You just keep going, you just keep going. So now I've gotten myself into law school. It's like, oh God, I had a professor when I worked on my MBA. I had a professor and he had a PhD, JD, MBA. And I went, holy cow, man, that's a lot of degree. And I'm competitive. Hello. Right? I'm looking at this guy. Yeah, a lot of professors, they had PhDs and MBAs. Yeah, so what? This guy has a law degree too. And his PhD was in accounting, which was like, okay, whatever. And so, but he had a law degree and an MBA. I'm like, did this guy go to college for 15 years? Yeah, probably. Sure. Okay.
Now that we've both been doing it, yeah.
Yeah. So
I took 1 year off between the second master's and then starting the PhD program.
Yeah. So that started gnawing at me. That's what happens. It just starts gnawing at me, man. And then I gotta go do it, right?
But George, an idle mind is the devil's playground. Right?
Yeah, I've heard that.
I mean, it's kept you going. It's kept you motivated, and you just haven't stopped.
Yeah. Well, apparently what I need the physical activity, but I also need the mental stuff.
Yeah.
Here's a great quote for you. Mental fitness and physical fitness go hand in hand.
For sure.
Socrates said that over 2,000 years ago. So,
you hear that, Jose? His show starts in 8 minutes, and he loves doing fitness stuff. Yeah, okay. You have to go on Jose's show sometime too.
Sure, I'd be delighted.
So he's got the Motivated Mindset show. That's what his show is. Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, so that's been my deal. Just motivated to do physical things, stay in shape, and all that, and then. Also the intellectual side in studying stuff. I'm just curious, George. It's like, I just have to know where this came from. What's the history? What's the background? Who started it? All those questions that have to be answered, So that's the thing. And so anyway, I'm in law school. I finished the first year already. So I think I can knock it out in another year and a half, but this is kind of be careful what you wish for, because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of reading and it's just a lot of, and you have to do case briefs, and every class has case briefs. So it's a lot of work. So what does it do? It interferes with your personal life. Okay. So that's
because you are married, if I remember correctly. You're married.
Yes.
You have a couple of daughters, I think.
I do. Wow, look at you. Yeah, I got 2 daughters. I do. Yeah. Yeah, they're
they
great.
Paid attention to you.
Very good.
We had some great conversations on deck,
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, so that's good. So I hope to finish that up, finish the law degree up. Now I don't know what I'm going to do with that, because I do have a firm that does management consulting, basically, just business analysis and all that kind of stuff. But whether I'll try to practice law or not, I'm not like 24 or 5 years old and I'm going to work for a law firm and work 60 hours a week. That ain't happening. Okay.
Right.
But I might do, like a little boutique, or just add it to my consulting business and say, okay, well, we do some estate work, estate planning and trusts, and I don't know, some contracts and some of that legal stuff where it ties into the the other business.
I would think with as many books that you've had, published, you'd have to know something about,
Well, I got to
you
tell
know.
you, I had a whole nother business career that we didn't even talk about.
What's that?
Well, my undergraduate degree is in accounting. So I worked for a CPA firm for 8 years. And then I got out of that nightmare and then got into real estate and construction. And then wound up with my own construction company and my own real estate development company.
I've done the construction thing. I've had a cleaning company and a construction company.
Yeah.
Yep. Wore the hard hat and everything.
Yeah. So I'm kind of done with all that. I developed some 3 projects in Tennessee, actually. Developed 3 of those and some stuff in Florida. And, I don't know. So that was a whole.
So what are you going to be when you grow up, George?
Yeah, I don't know yet. I'm working on it. I can't figure it out. I keep trying things. I keep trying things in the hopes that I'll find something.
But it sounds like it's probably not things that you don't like. You just enjoy trying new things.
Yeah. I do. Yeah, that's what it is. So anyway, it's been fun. Still rocking and rolling. So we've got
about 2 minutes.
Okay.
What's one question I should have asked that didn't ask? What is that one thing that somebody, man, I'd love to know that.
Oh, about me. One question about me then?
Yeah.
Oh. I wish this wasn't live because I got a lot of jokes too. Okay. So yeah, I can't say that. Okay. God, what motivates you? How about that?
Yeah.
That's the only thing. That's the only thing. And I just have an innate ambition, curiosity that I was born with.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. I don't know. I just don't. I don't have no idea where the hell that came from. But it must be in the DNA.
It must be.
But if you don't have that, we could follow our little formula here, which is find a mentor, get a support system, and establish some goals. We could wrap it up with that. How about that?
Yeah, that sounds good. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. We connected on the boat. I love the generation. I like listening and talking to older people. I grew up next door to a World War II Navy vet. And that was so I've just always enjoyed hearing things, from other perspectives. So thank you so much.
Right. Well, you got to come. You got to do your diving. You got to come with me to Honduras in July.
Oh man, that sounds amazing. That sounds amazing.
Stay tuned. SilentOceanScuba.com.
I posted the websites to reach out to George, everybody. So feel free to reach out to him. I do have some upcoming guests. Stephanie Ford is joining me on the 14th. Elaine Davidson is joining me on February 21st. I'm not sure who I have for the 28th yet. I might be on site. And March 7th, that following week, I think I'm doing a pre-record with somebody else earlier in the week. So I'll have a good weekend off and just enjoy working on my PhD myself. So we'll be nerdy, just doing the nerdy thing, George.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me. And
of course. Well, we got to go, folks. Thank you all. Y'all have a fabulous week. Stay warm. And thank you for joining Military Broadcast Radio, giving veterans a voice. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us, giving our veterans a voice.